All right, I want to welcome you all to Sober Sunday. Sober Sunday, this is Simon Bevy, stimulating conversations with me every Sunday night. For those who are joining us live, for those who will watch this later, anytime that you get to watch it, you're welcome to be part of this conversation. The last 3 weeks, we have heard very interesting discussions about the mom factor, just the impact of the mother, the kind of mother that we had on the way that we grow up and the kind of adults that we eventually become. It's been exciting, stimulating, insightful. Lots of people have said they have seen themselves and they have seen their moms in some of the things that we have talked about. Again, just to remind you, we're not here to beat up mom. Parents are great parents, and they had their own struggles, because none of us is perfect because of the way we are brought up, but because of certain prevailing environmental factors in our own lives, and also because we were born broken. And so I am excited about the three of us as we continue. We have had the same panel for the last 3 weeks now. So I want to invite Dr. Carol. We are glad that you're here as a psychologist, a coach, a therapist, and a parent yourself.
Yes, thanks for having me. As always, sober conversations here, sobering actually. I'm also learning a lot as I go. I hadn't really interacted with that book in depth. And so it's really also given me an opportunity to really also begin to see myself in some of those spaces. And I'm looking forward to this discussion being our last one for this space today. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, you're welcome. And then of course, I'm co-hosting this and having the conversations with Sophia Mwende, who is my good wife. So we're glad to continue. We have had these trainings together of the mom factor. Again, just to remind you, as she comes in to say hi, we're basing these discussions on a book written by two psychologists, very sober ones who have written many books like the Boundaries series, but they've written one on the mom factor. And that's what we are basing our conversations on. We've changed a few of the things to contextualize, but the essence is from that book. So, Sophia, we're glad to have you here.
All right, good evening and good morning for those of you who are watching from outside of this context. It's always a pleasure to have these very, very sobering conversations. I'm an educator by profession, and I really, really love to work with children and with the young. And yeah, these conversations turn me up because they relate to what I am very passionate about. So glad to be here, and you're all welcome.
All right. Well, thank you, Sophia. I think your internet is acting up a bit, but I'm sure it's going to be okay as we continue. All right, so we began by talking about, let's jump into it, because today we must conclude this discussion. So we're going to move a little fast. We're going to just have short and brief comments. But as I said to all of you in the audience, that we're actually going to have a mom factor seminar. And those of you who'd like to join in, we're going to be advertising on the same pages, and you're welcome to join in. We're going to go into depth, give you some exercises to do. And for all the mothers, you will be a better mom as a result. And for all of us, men and women, we'll understand some of the ways our moms have affected us. And so we began by talking about the detached mom. The mom who never gave us the attachment that we needed in the way that we needed it. So the first gift that mothers give is attachment, the ability to get intimate and to connect with us as human beings. And so when we don't get enough of that or any of it, then we are growing up with a detached mom who is far from us and not connected to us. And that affects us in different ways in our way of relating with others and getting intimate with others. Number two, we got to talk about the fragile mom, the brittle mom, the mom that hasn't been able to help us deal with our emotions, containment of our emotions, because they themselves have not been able to contain their emotions well. So they're not able to pass that containment to us and teach us through soothing and many other activities on how to handle our emotions. Then we ended with the controlling mom. And we say controlling moms, they just don't allow us to be independent, to be our own persons, to separate into our own person. I think, Dr. Carol, it's usually around preteen that a person begins to become their own individual. I think we call it individuation. And many moms don't allow you just to do that. It's like they're controlling. They want to feel like they are, they own you. So they don't give you the permission to grow your own separate self, to become your own person. And I think we were saying that it's important, Dr. Carol, maybe just a comment here before we go to the next one. It's important for a child to develop their own separate will, so they can be able to will their own things, not just depend on mom to will that for them, to create their own identity, who it is they are, and not be swallowed up in the identity of the mother. To have the ability to live within their own limits in terms of their freedom and responsibility. They have a freedom to do certain things. Not everything is being dictated, but also they are responsible to make choices and organize their room and stuff like that. And they're not too dependent on mom. What are your comments about that individuation, becoming your own person?
Yeah, very important. I think one, every parent would want their child to be independent. So even as a mom is being controlling, again, like I think we've been saying in the last couple of weeks, is that it's a very unconscious, it's out of their own need to want to find their identity in the child. Or in being a mom. And so these are the kind of moms who will say, my children are my life, you know. That basically, that means I do not have a life. And we say it sometimes, I don't know where it comes from. I don't know what we mean by that, but that's a very profound statement when you say my children are my life, because that means outside of mothering, you do not really know who you are. So I think one, the reason that a mom can be controlling, it's because they have also not found their own identity. And they don't really know who they are as individuals outside of those mommy roles. What else am I when I'm not mothering? And so that then they pass it on to their children, and they want to hang on to them and stick with them. And you're right in saying, you know, around preteen and teenage, that's when it's very important. The main question there, of course, as psychologists have said, is who am I? And even sociologists, who am I? And naturally they will want to push back. Naturally they'll want to show aspects of rebellion or just trying to be different. And then it's very important that parents are aware, moms are aware that that's what is happening, and now be in a wholesome place to be able to provide that, to allow space for individuation within the limits of your values, you know. Yes.
That's right. You know, there's one of the mothers who was saying when we were doing this training, you know, the daughter, I think, was 19 then, but she's still the one to decide what she should eat, what dress she should wear. And it's like the daughter cannot even make a decision as to, wait, mom, which one do I do I wear? Because mom has been so present and controlling that she doesn't even want to make the decision to choose what to wear, because she knows mom is going to say, no, I don't like that. Get this one, get this one. And everything was being dictated by mom. So as you're saying, I think sometimes is inability to be our own person, and then that shadow, we cast it on our own children, and we just completely take over. Anyway, I think if you find yourself controlling, we said there are ways that you can help yourself. And we're going at the end to say, just repeat the same steps of helping ourselves as mothers. And those of us who know our mothers are like that, making sure that we deal with those aspects, unwholesome aspects in us as a result. So the fourth one is a trophy mom, the ideal mom. And I know there are moms like this, but I know dads are, most of them suffer this disease. They want to say, this is my child, I'm proud of you, as long as you're number one, you're an A student, you are dad's child. But if you're a B student, C student, no, you don't belong to me. So the trophy mom, or the ideal mom, is the one who says, I'm only excited about you, only accept the best of you. When you win, when you get the best, when you're an A student, that's when I accept you. Otherwise, I don't accept anything else in you. Sophia, I don't know whether you have come across such kind of parents. You're still muted.
Okay, I was saying that I think that is the one I am actually very prone to be, trophy mom, very high ideals, and sometimes it's people, you don't, I think you don't realize, you think that when you set high standards for your children, it is what parenting should be. And you there's some people who feel that if I have no expectations of you, then I don't really care about you. So yeah, very high standards. I come across it all the time, especially in the education sector. And I guess that is one of the reasons why you see students taking failure very hard, even to the point of taking their own lives, because they just can't take that grade back home. I mean, there was a standard that was set, and because they have not met it, then you just don't know how it actually incapacitates you to the point where you feel that maybe life is not worth living. So it's very easy. I think there's a very thin line between setting, expecting your children to setting high standards. I think every parent should have reasonably high standards for their children, but it can get to the point where now it becomes the basis for acceptance, or the basis for a relationship with mother and daughter, a condition. It becomes a condition for the relationship happening. And I think that's the tipping point where now it actually goes south at that point. But yes, I think it's very easy. And I must say also that, the standard, especially for us mothers, I don't know, they usually say in this, in our context, that when a child goes wrong, they belong to the mother. And when they do well, you want to know who their father is. So I guess the pressure is high on mothers to make sure that the child is okay, Yeah.
It's almost the question, who is your mom? It's
Yes.
like, yeah, you should be ideal. So we're talking, Dr. We're talking about acceptance here, and not accepting the weak parts. All of us as human beings, we have the weak parts, we have the mediocre parts, where there's some things we just don't do as well. We're not excellent. That's something we're trained, and especially being a child. Then there are some other parts that we're just different. Maybe you prefer something going a certain direction, a certain color, and the child doesn't like that color, and you begin to insist, and it's like they have to accept your ideal, and it's not really an important ideal. It's just difference. of opinion, or maybe the bad parts in us that gets it wrong and we do some things badly, and we need to grow as well. So talk to us a little bit about accepting our children for who they are.
Oh, it's one of my favorite spaces when it comes to coaching parents. And even in my book, I have a whole chapter on the poster child. And the poster child is a combination of all these amazing things that we have seen and we have heard and we have watched in movies. So every time you see something good and positive about a child, you begin to, it's a mosaic. Is it a collage? A collage and bits and pieces of all these amazing children. And one time it will be a message that is forwarded in your WhatsApp group about the 9-year-old who has a foundation for saving elephants. And you say, wow, okay. So you take that and put it there. And then a little boy you watch on TV, one of these programs, a genius boy who knows the names of all the presidents in Africa, and your child doesn't even know the name of their governor. Okay, so every time you see something good, you read, you watch, you hear, you go to church or in a gathering and you find a bunch of a family, all the kids are seated still, nobody moving. So every time you see that, you're like, yeah, this is how perfect children look like. And unconsciously, you are putting together a collage of all these amazing kids. However, for you, it's one. So they all exist. So every time you're interacting with your child, you are not interacting with your child. You're interacting with who you wish they could be. And so acceptance is so important, because every time you're interacting with who you wish your child could be, you never really get to know them. You never really get to connect with them. That's where all these issues of insecurities begin, because the child definitely knows, I'll never measure up. So as they talk too fast, they eat too fast, they stuff their food. I mean, there's just always something that they're not doing right. And they sense that unacceptance. So acceptance is to just be able to look at this child and say, this is the child I have in front of me. This is the child I have with their positives, with their negatives. So even one of the exercises that I give parents is to just, first of all, list down all the things they wish their child was. Like, let's pour that out. Okay, this is what I'm struggling with. But then again, list down minimum 20 positive, only 20 positive attributes about your children, so that you are able to accept all your children in their totality. And we need to realize that acceptance is actually the last stage of a process of grieving. And therefore, for us to get to a place of acceptance, we have to allow ourselves these other stages, the stage of denial, this is not my child, the stage of anger, oh my gosh, what did I give birth to? Bargaining, maybe if I take them to church and to this camp and to this program, after school program, maybe they'll change, So we are always trying to fix our children. So the message our children are getting all the time is, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. But you have to allow yourself to acknowledge all those stages, and then you get to acceptance. And acceptance doesn't mean, like we've said, it doesn't mean you're okay. It just means you are cognizant of all aspects, and you integrate those aspects to a place of where you say, okay, so this is who I have. Acceptance frees us, it gives us freedom to actually be able to ask ourselves, what do I need to do now to support this child? You can never get there fully if you're forever trying to fix your child.
You talked about denial, because we have many parents who deny, no, my child cannot be that. My child cannot get that. That's not the great for my child. And that's a way of pushing, it's a way of being a trophy mom or dad. Also judgment, you judge them too harshly. If I'll just give this quick example of an ideal dad that I've put in my book, Dad is Destiny, as well. And this dad, and this is a true story, my friend used to was a C student. And so the dad said, hey, I didn't give birth to C students. If you're not an A student, you're not my child. And so they worked very hard. They got a B. And he was very excited. He went home, said, Daddy, I've improved. I have a B. The dad looks at him and said, I told you, you don't belong here unless you get an A. I don't want to see you. And so he went and worked very hard and he got an A. And now he was so excited. Finally, he's going to be accepted, conditional acceptance. And so, as he told me the story later, he went home very excited, ran and hugged his dad and said, Dad, I got an A. And the dad just looked at him, pushed him away and looked at him and said, were you the only child in that school that got an A? I think they're just a bunch of fools that you were able to get there. And, he got to a place, he was so hurt, he actually quit school at some point. He just thought, it's too much trying to please dad. And now let's put mom in that situation. If a mom is like that, always pushing, I don't accept you unless you do this, then you begin to live with this perfectionism. Where you have toxic shame. When you do something wrong, it's too much for you. There's good shame and there's toxic shame. It's where you just feel like, I don't even need to leave because nobody will accept me. I'm not good enough. Good shame is the one that tells you, okay, I didn't do well there. I could have done better. Let me work and do better. It's to help you grow. But the toxic one is that you're always being condemned. You're never good enough. You will never make it. Mom's telling you, I pity the person you're going to marry. Things like those are just like, I don't accept you unless you show me your best. And that can really, so we're talking about some of the functional problems. It's like these children can become very narcissistic. And again, that word has been misused and overused.
Yes.
That the child who is a genius and performer can become too proud of themselves. It's like the sun rises and sets on me.
And very, very cocky, cocky, like overconfident. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, or can begin to push people to like them, or even be like a human mirror. They're always flattering other people because they want to be flattered. But you can say a little bit into that. And of course, we talked about perfectionism. They can become themselves very perfectionist, hiding failure, never wanting to show that. So it's like there's too much burden in them to perform.
Yes, and I think there's identity is equal to my success. So if I'm not doing well, then I don't know who I am. And Sophie has spoken into that, where a child even will decide to attempt suicide because they are not doing well. As in, if I don't do well, then I don't exist at all. I relate with that a lot. I think for me, my identity was my performance growing up. I grew up, getting so much praise from performing well that I didn't know what else to be outside my performance. I was such an approval addict. I would look around, and I really connect with that. I began realizing how I was passing that down to my son. And how I was doing that was, I had a label for him. I used to call him my genius. Okay. And so in fact, sometimes, what name do you want to give your son? Mine was my genius. And I began to see that I was pushing him to perform well, to the point where there's a time, I think he was in class 3, he became that cocky, actually really like, I know I'm a genius. I know I'm just a level of pride. And then, there's a time he wasn't performing well. And actually before even started not performing well, I told him, you need to read for your exam. Then he said, but I'm smart, mommy. And that's when I knew, hey, that's not good. And so I think what we need to really help our children understand, and even ourselves, to really just begin to get out of that space. I don't know if it's time to start talking about that, but the reality
go ahead.
Is to just help them begin to look at the process. To look at, not to identify only with the end result. but to begin to identify with process. Because what I discovered about my son is he began to avoid things that required hard work. He was only going to choose stuff that he would quickly perform well so that he can quickly get the approval. Yeah. So our kids begin to avoid difficult things that they consider difficult. And so they only stick with what will bring them that success. So helping our children to begin to look at success as a process, success as improvement. And it's amazing how when you change your mindset and you change the environment, it just the child also just picks up on it, because he's now in year 7, 4 years down the line. His mindset about success is very different. I mean, we don't even talk about the final grade. We talk about the process. We talk about how much work goes into studying, things like that. So again, we just need to step back, begin to change, and we'll see that the environment in our children as well will change.
Yeah. And I think, Sophia, you have dealt with a lot of parents who are like that, who are in denial about some of the struggles or issues that their children have, because to them, they have a trophy child. So the child also begins to struggle, I think, with getting real. They can't be real because then that will not be accepted. So they become this person who is a pretender. Because they know the real one is not accepted, is not loved. So they're always putting their best foot forward. And even if it means lying to make that happen, then they begin to do it. Maybe, Sophie, just a word, being a teacher and you've dealt with these parents a lot, ways that you can advise them just to accept that they're children. Can mess up sometimes because they're children, and we live in this world of sin and brokenness, that we should accept our children and help them grow for who they are.
Yeah, that I think I was going to actually talk about the part of the, when the standards are so high and a child feels that they are not able to meet the standards, then they begin to think about how to escape the wrath. And a very practical way I see this as a teacher is that we, like the incidences where a child has like 2 diaries or, so there's a diary that is taken home to show the parent that, everything is okay. And then there is the real diary, the current diary that, that is the one that shows the actual situation on the ground. And so at a parents teachers conference, then a parent comes, and when you're showing them what we're discussing the child's progress, the parent is actually shocked because that's not the picture they are getting. So I think one of the biggest relational things that can happen when you are constantly pushing your child is that your child will learn to lie to you. Right. Or you have these children who they become like pathological liars. And how this happens is that they are afraid of failure. And so what happens is, in every situation, they will quickly think, what does this person want to hear? And they will tell you what you want to hear, whether it's a spouse, it's a boss, it's another friend. So you have children who have like multiple faces, and they remove the one which they think is appropriate for the situation. And that causes a lot of turmoil, because children have a conscience, and when they know that what they're doing is wrong, and it can get to a point where they're so conflicted that now it leads to other things that are being used to resolve this constant thing that they're always going through, always lying, and you're guilty, and so you turn to something else to distract you. And I guess that's how then such people become very prone to addictive behaviors, and they're really trying to numb either the pain or the anxiety. There's a lot of anxiety about lying because you don't know. I usually say it's hard work to lie. You need to record your lie so that the next one is based on what you say. It's a lot of work. And it strains people. it trains children. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So trying to project the best part of them and, push that forward into, play that forward into the time that they get married and their
Yeah.
spouses don't know them because they show another side of them.
Yeah.
Eventually the spouse gets to discover things about them and they wonder, who is this? Because
Mm,
they've always been hiding the other parts and they only show what needs to be seen. And I think just to conclude that so that we go to the next one, you find also in terms of faith generally, such people and relationships, they don't show grace to themselves and they don't receive grace from others. They just don't feel that they deserve to be forgiven. For example, they don't give themselves slack, cut themselves slack to fail and praise grace. So they even find it hard to understand that God forgives them whenever they mess up, because this is too much. Why would you be forgiven? You should have done what is right. But let's go to the other two. With the minutes remaining, and they're pretty close to one another. So the next one is still the boss mom, still the boss mom. And yeah, I've had many stories. So this is the kind of mom who says, no matter how old you get, you'll always be my child. I'll always be your mom. So the controlling mother, just to differentiate, the controlling mother doesn't want you to become your own person, but still the boss mom doesn't want to prepare you to be a functioning adult. She doesn't prepare you because mothering is separation all the way from beginning to the end. But when kids get to 16, 17, 18, you begin to prepare them to become their own adults, to make their own decisions, to be able to live on their own as adults, as fellow adults. Eventually they become your fellow adult. But still the boss mom never allows this child to become an adult in a sense, because they're always treating them as a child and helping them to do things. So the authority is just too much over the child, who should get some freedom to become their own adult and begin to make some of their decisions and do some other things. And here we're talking about values. We're talking about gender roles and their own friendships and stuff like that. But Dr. you could say something into that.
Yeah, still the boss. I don't know if they're the ones who say, as long as you are under my roof. But, you know, there are situations where you should say that. I mean, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what age they are, because there are some basic things that, you know, you need to make sure that they are followed and there are consequences. But then I think, again, in all this, it's when it's in the extreme, you know, it's in the extreme where you want to speak into everything that the child says, from the course that they choose in college to like we were saying, what the clothes that they wear, for example. It's like you're saying, really close to the controlling man. But here, I am the voice in your head in everything that the child has to do. And so they become very indecisive, second guessers, forever second guessing themselves, because ultimately I haven't heard my mom's voice. Until I hear my mom's voice, that's when I know for sure. Then I need to make whatever decisions I need to make. These are the kind of parents who their children are an extension of their ego, you know. You're doing all this so that you can still feel good about yourself, that you can still feel that you are worthy, and you have a sense of identity and control.
Yeah. So in a sense, you don't help your child make their own decisions. You don't let them make their own decisions, but you make the decisions for them. You don't prepare them to have their own values. It's like your values is what they must adopt. But at some point, you need to train them and teach them to have their own values, so that they say, these are my values. And then their friendships as well. Yeah, you can guide them and say, these are the kind of friends you need to have, but you can't be the one choosing their friends all the time. And I think this began come to the fore. When our child, she finished high school a little earlier, our daughter, and so we sent her to the US for a few months. And this one I realized it's very easy to still be the boss, because she will call me, she'll call us and call mom and say, you know, this is what I need. Can you tell the person in the house to help me do this? And I remember I kept telling her, no, you're the one who is there. Talk to the person. And we had to push her to become our own, to become an adult. We can't be the one you're calling us to tell your host to take you to the supermarket. No, you talk to your host. So I think if we didn't do that, then we would still have become the boss. That we're the ones making decisions. What are you eating? No, don't eat that. So in a sense, still the boss is in a big way still controlling. Sophia, I don't know what you would say about this.
Well, again, I think a lot of these things, I believe that there's no mom who wakes up with a and with a memo in her head that I'm gonna be this kind of a mother. I think we all parent from a place of brokenness, and sometimes we can break our children without even knowing that that's actually what we're putting them through. And so, even as we have these conversations, and as the mothers out there listen, and those who are mothered as well, I think it's very good for the mothers to not beat ourselves too much, but also for those who this is how your mother parented you, to also extend compassion towards them and empathy, and to realize that they give, you give out of what you have. And if you don't have something, then you cannot pass it on to your children. So still the boss mom, yes, I think it relates more to older children. And as we say that as the children grow, you need to grow with them. And I like to say that every year I'm a new parent, because I'm parenting at a new level. Last year I was parenting a 19-year-old. This year I'm parenting a 20-year-old. And certain things do change with the relationship. Where now I need to let go decisions. I need to give room for the exercise of decisions and the facing of consequences, whatever those consequences are. And I think sometimes as mothers, we want to be the boss because we don't want to let go control. You don't trust that your child can actually make decisions. And so you want to then make all the decisions, rescue them even sometimes from their thing. I mean, whatever it is that they have to do. If, for example, a decision has been made, it has gone wrong, then you want to intervene, not understanding that life is made of, bad decisions, and it's not intentionally bad decisions. It can be bad decisions because you didn't know. You are in a new space, you don't understand what it entails to be in that space, and you make a decision which in the moment you think is actually a good decision. But in hindsight, you realize, my goodness, I shouldn't have done that. But there is learning in the process. So if you're still the boss mom, you don't allow your children to fail forward, because there's something called failing forward, where you fail, yes, but you have learned something new and become a better person. And I'm not saying that we should not intervene at all. We can debrief the experience, but then I think part of then being this kind of a mother is just learning that my children will one day have to live without me. And actually, that's the ultimate goal of motherhood and parenting. You parent your children so they can leave your house and establish their own lives as successful adults. And they do need practice. Yeah, they do need practice. So I think just an encouragement to realize that, the ultimate goal of parenting is to release, and to therefore prepare both yourself and your child for that moment of separation.
Yeah, and that's not easy. That's not easy, Dr. I think we say parenting is the only relationship that is judged by how well it ends. What does your child do after they leave you? Then you know you parented well. because you prepared them. So again, just for differentiation, controlling mom injures the personality of a child, so they can't become their own person. Still the boss mom is more about authority. I'm still in charge. I'm still in charge. Yeah, so I injure your ability to become an adult, to make your own decisions. So it's really around authority and submission. And of course, we need to encourage the child to know how to question values, how to, yes, be able to submit to good authority, but also be able to question, authority out there, because you don't want your child going anywhere and everybody said, do this, and they do it, and they're not even thinking about it. You need to help them understand how to obey the right authority and resist the wrong authority or values. And that's not easy, because if you're still the boss, then they'll either become a people pleaser or a rebel. They'll just rebel against you because your authority is too much, or they will just become so subservient that they only do what you say. And that's not good for life, is it?
No, it's not. I'm smiling when you say we need to let our children learn how to question authority in, of course, a way that is respectful. And the reason I'm smiling is that many times parents want that, but the reality is that they're going to practice that with us. It's like we want them to go and question authority out there, but not with us. So our job is not to resist when they are questioning our authority. Our job is to teach them how to do it respectfully, so that when they get out there, they are doing it also respectfully. But one of the biggest struggles we have, even as we are trying to get our children to individuate and to question authority and to just be able to speak up for themselves, one of the biggest struggles is that we don't expect it will happen. They will do it with us. They will try it on us, and they will try it disrespectfully. They will try because it's easy for them to get away with us. So I think expecting that and then teaching them, being the ones who are teaching them to do it with respect, to communicate it, and to make sure that they are being assertive and yet respectful as well, not getting to other people.
I'm laughing because there's a parent who told me, he said, I think bringing up teenagers makes you think about murder many times a day. Especially when your children question you, sometimes they question you and you wonder, who are you? You just came here the other day. I brought you into this world. I can take you out of it. And we need to grow. I mean, there's a time my teenage son asked me something and I was shocked. I said something and I say, well, why do we need to do that, Dad? And I'm thinking, what? But I had to swallow that and realize, actually, he doesn't have a bad intention. He's actually growing to be an adult. So that's okay. I need to teach him respect. You can't talk to me as if we are equals. But yes, you're becoming a fellow adult very soon. And we need to be able to talk as adults. And so preparing him for that and not thinking about murder at that point. So I think if we don't teach them that, then in this world, they're either going to be very subservient or very rebellious, and they're going to get into trouble because they didn't learn that it's okay to become your own adult, but it comes with responsibilities as well. So unless if you have something to add there, we can go to the last one. Yes, so the last one here is never leave.
Okay.
Never leave mom.
I think
this is a mom who, so this is the last stage of release. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I was going to say that the other thing that could happen in a relationship with this kind of a mother is that depending on the personality of the child, there is that child that will just give up on trying to be an adult and actually become overly dependent on mother. So they're not willing to take decisions. This is the kind of individuals when they're married, they will call the mother to ask whether to approve the decisions of the other spouse, and it can work out both ways, whether it's a mother or whether it's a son or a daughter. But you can actually have stunted adults who they have made the age for adulthood, but they do not have the skills that make one, that qualify one to be a successful adult. Like I said, such as decision making. You don't pursue anything, because then when somebody has been there making all the decisions for you, I mean, then you have no practice for decision making, for making good judgments. And like I say, if it's a child who would rather choose the path of least resistance, then they'll happily let somebody else make the decisions and be responsible, on their behalf. So it can actually lead to very serious issues as an adult. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And they may begin to boss others everywhere, or allow others to boss them, because that's what they have learned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the last one we were talking about, never leave home. Never leave home. So all the equipment is there for these, young people to go and live out their own lives, but there's no permission to go out from the parents, to go out and use those skills and be their own person. So in a sense, there's no final release. Okay, now you're an adult, go get married, go. I release you. And I think I've seen this with some of our friends from another country, where we have found that the children often just come and live with them there, and they're married, and they come with their spouses, and they live in the parents' house like for weeks. And then sometimes the parents go and live with them for weeks. And it's almost like there's no space for these guys to grow up. And this could be cultural in some settings, but it's also very, very toxic. Dr.
Yes, it is. It is one. And I've also had, I've worked with clients in such spaces, and which is from a cultural perspective, that's what is expected. But then the struggles begin to show up, because we are all expected to think alike, especially if we're doing it in a community. We are all expected to think alike, to raise our children alike. So a lot of comparisons go on between kids, even as you're getting into that community. I mean, as you're raising you're raising children together. So there's a lot of comparison. There's a lot of attacking this family and this family. So it's possible that in a situation, in a setting like that, there's a lot of resentment that can be bred over time, because you're not really being yourself. There's something about separating as a nuclear family. There's just something about the freedom and the sense of agency, because we have been built to have a sense of agency, a sense of, I have control over my own decisions. When you're constantly not being given that, allowed that space of agency and that space of power, it actually leads to resentment, it leads to anxiety, it leads to depression, because you're not really being allowed to be fully yourself. So the never leave home, I think one of the main consequences there, especially emotionally, is depression, anxiety, and a build-up of resentment.
Yeah, and I think you talked about culture, Dr. And I think our culture doesn't. This is one of the problems our culture has an issue, because the Bible says, a man shall leave and cleave, shall leave father and mother, so they may go and cleave. But in a lot of our settings in African context, you find that many sons don't leave. They just marry someone who comes. But now this woman begins to live with the extended family. They're
Yes.
really not married to their husband, they're married to the family.
Yes.
And a lot of confusions come in and a lot of issues, because it's like that son cannot have their own family because mom is there and mom has to be taken care of, and relatives come and all of those expectations. And sometimes it's hard for that marriage and family to grow into, to blossom into a separate kind of family.
Right, right. And that's where the depression comes in, the resentment. You really just feel stuck.
Yeah.
You don't know how to get out of that space. You just feel stuck. And it's not good for your mental health to be in a place like that.
Yeah. And Sophia, there's a place where especially some of children who come from financially able parents, where they never allow them to have financial independence. It's like they're still bankrolling them. And so in a sense, they have never left. It's like, yeah, even though you live next door, but I'm really the one, I never allow you to have financial independence. So there's no independence here. I think this is what we are saying, that the parents are still involved. They may not be controlling, but they are still involved. It's like they never really let you go.
Yeah, that is very true. And then I was just thinking that, if you think about the biblical model, just living and cleaving, then there is a place where each party in a relationship comes and I believe that they bring the strengths of their cultural family setups, and they form something new that hopefully becomes something beautiful that need not be exactly what they came from. But in a situation where there's so much interference, then as a mother, I can want to live out my dreams through even my parenthood dreams through my daughter. And at that point, then there's a problem, because my grandchild may not now understand where the boundary lines are falling between, does she listen to her mother or does she listen to me? And that can be a problem. It can cause serious problems where I have certain standards. I've attended, for example, the Mothers of Sons class, and I want to be the parent in charge. But there is my mom from either side who also wants to have a say in that relationship. And it can be very frustrating because I'm like, hey, I'm the one in charge now. You've had your turn, let me have my turn. And it can be confusing in a sense where then the child learns to pita katikati yao. They know that mom will not allow mom will not allow this one, but grandma will allow me to do this. And it can be confusing to the child. The child ends up falling through the cracks, because then there are different standards of authority, there are different sets of rules. And we just then need, as parents who are raising children into adulthood, we need to tell ourselves that there comes a day when our word becomes, when children are younger, our word is probably the law. As they grow older, our word becomes advice. And advice can be taken or it can be left aside because maybe I feel it doesn't serve my circumstances. And we need to be okay with that. I need to move from the place where I'm giving instructions to where I am giving advice or suggestions.
That's right.
And giving the other adult party an opportunity to think through what I have said and make a decision about whether it serves them or not, and be able to move on. I think that is what a healthy relationship is between a father and a son, especially between a parent and a child, especially as a child begins to get into adulthood.
Yeah, and we need to start winding up. And Carol is just to now speak generally to the different steps we have asked people to take in terms of dealing with the gaps in their own upbringing, And then Sophie is going to speak to the moms and just encourage them in their journey. But now we're talking about everyone else and how we need to deal with the gaps that we realize because of the kind of mom that we had. But before then, I see Salma Naiteo, I see you saying this is very informative. Gatebi, Catherine, very interesting. And Kirote Motwiri, very informative. And Gesare Mokaya, very interesting series. We are glad that you have followed up. We are going to, as I said, going to be having a mom factor training, and we have programs that are ongoing. The Mothers of Sons, Intentional Mom, and the Transform Nations that's available. And Dr. Carol is going to be talking about her book as well and how you can find coaching. But just want to say, never struggle on your own. We are here because we all need help, because none of us has come from a perfect background. We all have gaps of development, and we need to, once we realize them, it's about awareness. We're talking about these things so that you're aware how the kind of mom you had has affected you, but then the boldness to face that and own it, not blame your mom forever. Mom was who she was, or is who she is, but then now you're an adult. It's your responsibility to deal with what you've got so that you become a better person. You can't keep pointing fingers. You only look back so that you look in and look forward. You deal with yourself so that you have a better tomorrow. Dr.
Yes, I think awareness is key. Self-awareness is key in this space. So even as you have been listening the last couple of weeks, and are you listening today, where are you on your level of self-awareness? How are you feeling? Is there guilt? Is there a moment of, oh, I'm not doing too badly? Because when it comes to self-awareness, it's about both, integrating both as well, just like we were saying earlier, integrating the good and the bad. Just be able to sit and think about all the amazing things that you have done coming this far, because you are already wired with everything that you need to be a great mom. And so it's about accessing those aspects that are good about you. However, it's also about looking at the things that I call triggers. What are some of those things that cause you to react? What are some of those things that give you anxiety to where you want to control your child? What are those things that make you panic so that you don't want to let go of your child? Where is it coming from? That self-awareness is also very important. And once we see that, it's just like any condition, mental health condition, you know, if you see where the crack is in the x-ray, you know exactly where the crack is. So now you are more confident about what it is that you need to work on. So the reason we are also really pushing on awareness is so that now we are clear about what we are working on. We are not just trying here and there, trying just to work on everything. And one of the things that I know that God is just so amazing about is when you ask, please shine your light on those areas, Lord, that need healing. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes many times we're in this with a lot of lack of consciousness, but he is the light, he is the truth. And if we allow him to shine light in those areas, then now we are clear about what it is that we are that needs healing. And then from there, now we can begin to be very specific, whether it's getting a support group, looking for coaching or therapy, and looking for spaces that you get assistance, because we all need each other in this journey. And yes, we parent a lot from our own brokenness, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a place of where we are clear about what it is that we need to work on.
And I know your book is available as well.
Yes, my book is available. It's a step-by-step guide, actually. It's a step-by-step guide in all that whole space of awareness of what it helps you get there faster to just because there's a lot of exercises that tease out these areas. And so if you come to our website, drcaro.co.ke, you'll be able to get it. I don't know if my assistant is here, but I can still give the number that you can get to 0707 222 002, Again, 0707 222 002. If you call that number, we'll be able to get the book to you. We are also, I'm just always looking for spaces to create awareness. So this coming Thursday, we have a webinar on teens and emotions, just helping parents to understand what's going on in the brain of a teenager that causes all these upheavals. And now that we have this information, what do we do about it? So a very informative session to just help you and support you into that space. And, you know, thankfully, a few of people who have been watching this the last couple of days are already reaching out, and I'm having free, you know, we have those 30-minute free sessions that I give, and I've had a couple already. So reach out, let's do the 30-minute free session to figure out where you're at, and then we'll be able to walk this journey if that's the direction that we decide to take.
Excellent, excellent. And Sophia, your last comments here to the moms, and I think part of what the moms need to realize and parents is that once we hear these things, we want to reorganize our relationship. Maybe if you're too much, we want to say, hey, we need some boundaries. And so as parents, being easy to make sure that we can redefine our relationship with our kids, where we have gone a little overboard or done it not in the best of ways, having the grace just to be able to redefine ourselves even at this age and at whatever level of parenting. Sophia, words to the moms as we close.
All right. I think first of all, just a lot of thank you for keeping it here. And just, I like it that moms, when we have programs for moms and dads, we always have more signups for the moms, because the moms are always, I guess we have more pressure, like I said, to make this parenting thing work. Yeah, but my husband here says that a man feels he has done great, just that he has contributed seed, and it's enough. I didn't know about that. But yeah, just saying thank you for being here. Thank you for keeping it here. And I think the thing that we want to say really to every mother, one thing I've come to know is that not everything my child will need in life that is going to come from me. I mean, there's so much I know right now as a mom that didn't come from my mother, and it's not a bad thing. And especially here in Africa, they say it takes a village to raise a child. So I want to be faithful, to do the best that I can as a mother, to be the best mother I am, because I am the machine that is sort of forming this child. And when bread is not good, you don't blame the bread, you fix the machine that made the bread so that it can be perfect. So I think it's a good thing for us to keep growing. And like I said, every year you're a new mother, in the sense that you're parenting your child at a stage that you have not been before. Even if you are there with an older child, with your current child, it's different, because some of these things are not copy and paste. So just to encourage you not to be discouraged, but to keep growing, to keep accessing as much information as you can, because again, our children have been born and are being raised in the information age. And many times when they are asking you things, they just want to see if you know. They're not coming from the point where you are the source of the information. They want to know if you are bright enough like that, if you're clued in on the things that they are asking. So really, I don't think that we have a choice but to grow with our children. Otherwise, we soon become irrelevant. So just right. like Kara said, begins with self-awareness, begins with reflecting on your journey, and allowing a relationship with your children where they're also leading you. And I believe it's biblical, where it says that a little child shall lead them. There are things that my children have led me to that I probably would not have discovered. So I think it's a new relationship, or it's a new way of looking at parenting that we are living in. And the opportunities to grow are numerous. And don't be hard on yourself. There is a lot of room for redemption, even in places where maybe you didn't do what you needed to do. So Like the young people say, rohoju. Yeah.
Well, parenting is a process of growth. It's not just about being one or two things to our children. It's a process of growth for ourselves. And so I pray that all of us as parents will continue to grow to become the better. And at the end of it, we'll look back and say we've become better adults, better individuals because of the journey of parenting. Because it reveals our brokenness, but also affirms our strengths and our graces. So to all of us, may the Lord bless you. Encourage yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Just realize you have some things to deal with as a normal human being. And let's see how to make it work better for our children as we bring them up in this world. Those of you, the ladies who are here, thank you, Marcy. I see you there and your comments. But the ladies who are here, we want to invite you to Ezra. Ezra is like the woman enough. We have man enough, and a lot of you know about man enough. But Ezra, there's one season that has just begun, an online one. And it's super subsidized, and this is the last super subsidized one. The last one for the year. From next year, we're going to get back to what we were charging before. So you want to take it up, and you can you see the details on our website, on our page, and there's also an assistant there in case you need to join in. So actually, this week is the last week to join in. And then we will continue. As 8 weeks of learning just authentic femininity and working with other ladies in learning some crucial things. So for all of you who have joined us, God bless you. And those of you who will watch this, may you grow to be a better person. And I hope this has been helpful. Again, look out for the seminars and they will be helpful. Let me just say a closing prayer for us. Almighty God, we just thank you for everyone who has been with us. You're a parent to us. Your word says, just like a mother never gets to forget the children, you never forget us. And so the gaps we have in life, you're able to help us fix them. And so we look up to you and we pray for a blessing for everyone. Those who feel overwhelmed, may you hold their hands in this journey. And thank you for all the resources available to help all of us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Carol. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you all for joining us. Good evening, good night, or good morning, wherever you might be. Thank you.
Bye.